Happy Wednesday, everyone, and thank you so much for taking time, whether you're viewing this video live or whether you're viewing it at a later point in time. Hopefully, you're viewing this before the holidays are over. This is Sandra L., founder of MediHealth, the Terrms MediHealth Foundation, managing partner of MediHealth LLC, a board certified patient advocate, and also someone that cares a lot about those who take the time to watch my videos. Once again, whether you're watching live or whether it's being recorded. I come to you today, and I'm going to be brief tonight because I realize it's when I'm taping this is the day before Thanksgiving. So a lot of people are spending time with their family and their friends and their loved ones. And I just wanted to bring this to your attention tonight, because it's important. And what am I talking about? It is foodborne illnesses and food poisoning. Now, you might be saying, well, Sandra, but isn't food illnesses and foodborne poisoning, isn't it the same? And I'm sorry, I said foodborne poisoning, and I actually should have said food poisoning. And you might be like, well, isn't that the same? It's not. And most patients don't understand that it's not. And there's an important reason why you should be taking close attention and paying close attention to which one it is that you have or that you think you might have. And the reason for that is because you don't want to be taking the wrong medicine for anything. That's just going to set off another mountain of problems for you. So you don't want to take, just take something and say, well, I think it's food poisoning, so I'm going to take this. When it's actually not food poisoning, it might be one of the other foodborne illnesses, which is E. coli or botulism. So you really want to make sure what you're treating yourself with is what you should be treating yourself with, because it's a medication that treats that particular illness. So food poisoning is a foodborne illness. So that's why it's different, because you have two other, and you have a little bit more than two other, but the most that you hear of is the E. coli and the botulism. Those are foodborne illnesses. And another one, once again, is the food poisoning. So you might say, well, Sandra, well, I think, I'm sick, or, maybe my children, or maybe, my mother, or someone that a friend of yours has told you before that they've eaten someplace and they wound up having cramps and they wound up, not feeling well. A lot of times you don't run a fever with foodborne illnesses. But you'll have cramps. You'll go to use the washroom and you see it's tinged with blood. Those are all signs that something is definitely wrong. What it is, I can't tell you, and a lot of times you don't know. But what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't panic, because there are places and there are people that you can actually talk to that will help you to determine whether or not it's what type of foodborne illness you have, so that you can correctly be treated for it. And I bring this up, like I said, the day before Thanksgiving and holiday season kicks off. So there'll be a lot of parties, there'll be a lot of food eating, there'll be a lot of food, there'll be a lot of drinking going on. And we want to make sure that we proactively have the information that we need as patients to make sure that we're correctly treated, right? So let me go ahead and say who it is you should call. Especially around this time of year, your primary care doctors, a lot of them, they've worked hard all year. I know mine's have. And so if they say, I'm taking a month off, or I'm taking a couple of days off, I'm like, go for it. You deserve it, because you've treated me with care. And I'm hoping that those that are watching this video, your doctors have also treated you with care, loving care. And so you want them to be off. So if they're off and you call their office and they're like, well, they're on vacation or they're not available to help you, what you should be doing is you should be you can contact your insurance company. On the back of your insurance card, they should have a nurse number. That nurse number is normally available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you should use that nurse number to call. They'll ask you, what symptoms do you have? And a lot of times before you don't even have to leave your home. They can tell you what it is you have without you even leaving your home. They could tell you, go to the store, go to the, CVS, Walgreens, or whatever pharmacy is around where you live at, and they should be able to tell you, what to get. We'll try this and see if it works. If it doesn't work, do this. So they'll give you a step-by-step guideline on how you could, determine what it is and see what you could do before you head to another important step, the urgent care or the emergency room. I highly, highly, highly disencourage you going to the emergency room, especially during this time of year, if it is not an emergency. They are already short-staffed. They're working as hard as they can. They're short-staffed. So for you to go to the emergency room and say, oh, I got a stomach ache, or, I'm seeing this without actually, knowing what's going on. And especially if you don't have a fever or you don't have any other underlying conditions that will cause you to say, well, maybe this is something I should worry about. I highly discourage you. And please note, this is my opinion. You should avoid going to the emergency room. You're taking up time from other patients that are there that really may need help in order for them to work on you when it's not of the level that you need to be in an emergency room. Foodborne illnesses and foodborne poisonings are, in fact, and I can vouch for this because I was actually a victimized, I want to say, for lack of another word, I was victimized in a food poisoning incident once. It's definitely not something that you want to try. It's not something you want to feel. You want to feel good after eating food. You don't want to be dizzy and lightheaded and vomiting and just not able to control yourself. You don't want that to happen. So in educating you, I'm telling you that don't be alarmed, but not so alarmed that you skip over some basic steps, such as calling the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week nurse line, calling or going to an urgent care center. Contact your insurance company. Ask them who it is that you can go to that you will not incur an emergency room bill, because some urgent care centers are tied to facilities. And even though they are an outpatient urgent care center, you still will be charged as if you went to that inpatient facility. Meaning, right off the bat, you've just incurred 2 visits. One for the use of the hospital and the other for the use of their physicians. A professional and a technical component you automatically assume whenever you go to the emergency room. So if it's not an emergency, please don't go, because there are other ways that you can find out, well, what is this? Is it a foodborne illness? And if it is it E. coli? Is it botulism? Is it food poisoning? How can I treat this? What do I need to do? They'll, once again, the nurses will ask you. They'll say, okay, well, what symptoms do you have? I know, because once again, I had to use the nurse line. And I'm so thankful that they were there, that they were actually able to help me when I needed help. They asked me all the questions, the same questions that I would be asked had I went to an emergency room. I was asked those questions, and they were able to stop me from going to the emergency room and stop me from incurring a bill that could have been in the thousands. So back to foodborne illnesses and foodborne food poisoning. And I'm so sorry because I keep saying foodborne poisoning, and it's not foodborne poisoning. It's foodborne illnesses and food poisoning. The two are not the same. The foodborne illness is that bacteria that builds up, that icky bacteria that you don't want in your body. The foodborne poisoning is what occurs when one of those bacteria get into your system and you want to actually get it out because it's actually poisoning you. So, once again, foodborne poisoning and food, I keep doing it, foodborne illnesses and food poisoning are not the same. You need to know which one you have, right? Which one of the illnesses that you have so that you can correctly be treated before it's actually something that can't be treated. Because, yes, foodborne illnesses can be quite detrimental to your health if they are not actually diagnosed and you are not on the correct medication for it. A lot of times there are, for those who don't like taking medicine, a lot of times there are some herbalistic things that you can do to, subside and make it, all work out. There are some things that you can do to, use as far as herbalistic, but you will need to check with your doctor to see if it's okay for you to take, or whatever, or the nurse, whoever you're talking to, talk to them and ask them, and go ahead with what they tell you, unless you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do what I need to do and I'm going to be okay. If that's the risk that you're willing to take, and I certainly hope it's not, because those of you that are in my circle of life, I love you dearly and I so want you to be here for a very long time. So think about what you do before you do it. If you notice the symptoms, or your loved ones, or notice some symptoms, and they're like, I think I've been poisoned. I think I got food poison. I ate the wrong stuff. Please check to make sure that that's what they have is food poisoning. It's not E. coli or botulism. The other important thing that you want to do, should you be diagnosed, you go to the emergency room, you go to urgent care, you're told, hey, this is what your diagnosis is. Yes, you've been poisoned, or you find out on your own through whatever methods you may use that you've been poisoned. Please contact your primary care doctor. Let them know. If he's not or she's not available, let them know. Say, I've been food poisoned. This is how I found out. Could you please put this in my notes so that when your doctor comes back and you go back to see them, they'll know to ask you about it. The second most important thing that you also want to do is you want to contact the state where you live at. You want to contact their public health department, and you want to let them know that you've been food poisoned, or you have been diagnosed with E. coli, or you've been diagnosed with botulism, or any of the other food illnesses that you're told when you seek medical treatment that you've been diagnosed with. Make sure you let them know. Why should you let them know? Because it helps. It helps other patients that come behind you that might stop in that same restaurant or go to that same grocery store and shop and pick up those same items that you've been, that you picked up that got you sick. Well, let's try to look out for each other, especially during this holiday season where it should be all about love. Let's look out for them, and let's let the health department know so that the correct measurements can be taken, so that the public is made aware that there was an incident, this is what happened, so that it could be, publicized to the correct people and for the correct people to know. So I'm going to leave you on that point. And with that note, proactively take care of your healthcare needs at all times. Proactively help and assist with those who you love, who you might be experiencing any type of illness or sickness during this holiday season. Please, please, please Let's be proactive about our health as well as the health of our family, our friends, and generally the community as a whole. I thank you so much. I want you to enjoy Thanksgiving. If you celebrate Christmas, please have a blessed Christmas. Although I'm sure I'll be back in front of you before Christmas, but please know that you are loved. And I share these educational tips with you every Wednesday because I want you to know, because those of you that are in my circle of life who listen and follow Sandra L. as she goes about telling you these health tips on Educational Wednesdays, you mean a lot to me. So I thank you so much. Have a beautiful, 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 blessed Thanksgiving. Spend all the time you can with your family and your friends, loving on them, letting them love on you. And let's bring this full circle throughout this holiday season. And let's keep in touch. I'll talk to you next Wednesday's educational tips. Goodbye for now.